Hey everyone, my name's Rob. Welcome back to my channel, Rob's Plants and Things, and today we're going to talk about the plants that grow the best for me. So I guess everyone who collects plants has plants that have always done well for them and they will always have in their collection, and these are the plants, I guess. So first on my list are my peperomias. Now, I have 3 peperomias. I'm going to go through them one by one, but I'm going to list them as one category of plant, I guess. So the first peperomia that is very easy for me to grow is my Peperomia Verticillata. It's also known as the red log peperomia, and I did not go out looking to buy this plant. We were living in Toronto at the time, and I needed a plant we had this 3-tier plant stand, and I needed a plant that was non-toxic to cats. To sit on the lowest level of it, because Archie is a bit nippy, and he only really nips when he wants attention, but he's nippy on plants, not on people. And so I was at a store, and I bought the ZZ Raven that I have shown before in my collection, and I just went to the girl and I was like, look, I need something that's non-toxic. They didn't have a watermelon peperomia at the time, which I wanted. And so she just said, hey, this peperomia is a little bit newish. Not newish, but starting to kind of like get a little bit more popular. And she said it grows really easily, and I can see why. You can just stick it anywhere and it'll grow. Mine is tilting forward a little bit, if you can see, because it's sitting on a shelf and it's coming towards the light. But I kind of like it, and I'm hoping. I've seen on other people's collections, if they give it enough like light away from it, it kind of like trails a little bit, comes down and goes forward. I want it to do that. So I'm purposely pulling it away from its light source and making it face a specific way so it does kind of grow down and forward. But this one is a really nice grower. I don't water it very much. With peperomias, I think I've spoken before that I use a moisture meter for all my plants. With peperomias, I do let them dry out to 1 on the moisture meter, and then I even wait even longer sometimes. I wait till the leaves I can like kind of squeeze and they don't have any rigidity to them, because they are succulent-like, and they can kind of take an underwatering, basically. I do have an issue with peperomias. Not that I hate them, but in the beginning, when I owned them, when I first started collecting plants, people would be like, oh, it's a beginner plant. Absolute dog shit lie. Because all the information out there, when you Google it, don't trust this stuff, by the way, sometimes. It tells you to keep their soil evenly moist, which to me means it has to be slightly dry to the touch, and then you water it. Hell no. No, let them dry out. And even let them like show a little bit of, not wilting, but like a little bit of softness in their leaves, and you will be golden. So these are ones that sometimes I don't need my moisture meter. I just kind of look at it and like, needs a water. But I think I water this one every 2 to 3 weeks, because the soil is a bit peaty. So it retains a lot of moisture, and I can feel that moisture now just touching it. So it's in a growers mix, so it doesn't have great aeration, and it's not chunky, so I tend to water it a bit less. Another rule is don't repot your peperomias. They will not like it. Keep them in their nursery pot for the first year at least, and then you're golden. My second peperomia is the Peperomia Prostrata. This is a cute peperomia. I think I've only watered it once because it's in a very peat-based mix, and if I stick my finger, yeah, it's still moist. And like for someone who can't tell moisture with his fingers, to know it's moist means it's very moist. It's in a peat-based mix again. I don't know why they like to grow them in that, because they're not very good when you take them home. But, I mean, look, it's fine. Just let them dry out and it'll be fine. This one does drop its leaves quite a lot, so don't fiddle with it too much, which I do. I also don't touch I don't touch this very often, purely because it will drop its leaves. There was a slight craze for it a year or 2 ago. Which is when I got my first one, and then I kind of got bored of it. And I'm a little bit bored of this one. But I do like it because it's easy to care for, and it sits on the shelf, and it fills up the space, and it's a little bit different than other plants that I have, because most of my plants are upright, and this is a trailing plant. So this is a really, really nice one if you need something to fill up a space that's really easy care. Again, very succulent in nature, so you don't have to try very hard. And it doesn't need a lot of light either, which is nice. And if you actually give it less light, it will trail even more, so that's nice. I like this one. I don't have to try very hard. Again, these are my best growers. It's actually not near a light source. It sits right there, if you can see, next to my watermelon peperomia. So that is probably further away from a grow light and the natural light sources. So again, really easy to grow them. So I have a bit of a story with this watermelon peperomia. Not this one specifically, but with the species in general. No, is it species? I can't remember. Anyway, the minute I saw one, I wanted one, and I still love them, by the way. I'm hoping to get a tattoo of it. But I bought it early in my plant care days, and because everyone said it was a beginner, plant, and, keep it moist, all good. Lies. Complete lies. No, let it dry out. It is not a beginner plant. Specifically this one, though, because I feel like people list them as low to medium light plants. I'm going to take it out of this cash room. Low to medium light plants, and they are not. Specifically this one, they need a lot of light. A lot of bright light. Which is why it probably does well here, because it's bright light both ways. But it's just, yeah. I remember buying one, killing that, buying another one. At that time, it was like $45 for one as well. So, and then I bought another one, and that one died like almost instantly. My friend Abby said that it was probably overwatered in the nursery, which sometimes happens in very peat-based mixes. So, and I also could tell it was probably a cutting as well that they just rooted. And then I finally went to a nursery where they had some beautiful ones, and I went to the guy at the front and I said, I keep killing these, but I want one. Can you help me? And he said, you need more light than you think. So give this one very bright light. Not direct light, but very bright light, and it will do well. And it did do well once I put it right under a grow light. And I let the soil dry out almost completely when I got it. The price for this has dropped quite a bit. I got it for $16 before tax. And again, this one, it's dry, and I'm not even going to water it yet because the leaves are still pretty rigid. And it keeps flowering for me, which is wonderful. But, I mean, you cannot go wrong with this. That is a big leaf. Look at that. These are huge. I mean, this is an old leaf that got ripped. I don't mind rips in my leaves, but, oh, look at that. That's amazing. That's an amazing plant, right? Come on. This is probably my favorite peperomia. I don't think I'll get any more peperomia unless I find the Peperomia maculata, the big one. I would love that one. This is a plant that will always be in my collection. No doubt will always be in my collection because it's a beautiful plant that requires actually very little care compared to a lot of plants that I normally keep. So this one just sits on the shelf, and maybe every 2 weeks I give it some water, if that. If it's very hot, then yes. But if it's not, it can just sit there for a while, and it's still rigid, and the soil's still dry. So, beginner, I wouldn't say it's a beginner houseplant though. Yeah. Well, it could be a beginner houseplant for people who don't fuss over their plants. But if you fuss over your plants, don't get this plant, because you will kill it, because you will overwater it. So these two plants are Justicia Brandegeeana, also known as the Mexican shrimp plant or the red shrimp plant, or I think some people list it as just shrimp plant. And you can see why they call it that, because the bracts actually look like shrimp. It's amazing if it can focus there. So that is pretty cool, if you ask me. This one sits in my husband's office. You can see that it's reaching towards the light source because it sits there and the light's coming from the side. So it reaches that way. And mine, oop, we lost a leaf. Anyway, mine is not flowering at the moment. It just dropped a whole bunch of flowers, so I think it's about to start again, and you can see actually there, yeah. You can see it's about to start again, there. So it's quite interesting to see the difference in growth between my plant room and his office. So mine grows a bit more compact because I have some supplemental light, and I get, it's also facing towards the light and much closer to the light than his is, and his is more in a side where it doesn't get a lot of immediate light, basically. Not direct light, but immediate light. I don't know what that means, but I think you get my vibe what I mean by if something sits kind of against the wall and then the windowsills, come out a bit. So not as much light as mine, so doesn't grow as compact. And I also have a humidifier going the whole time, whereas he doesn't. So you can see the difference in growth based on humidity and light levels. So that's pretty cool. This is a super easy plant to take care of. I initially put these susty meters in there purely because I'd never looked after a plant like this before and I didn't want to kill it. So, and I trust susty. Like susty is a device that I use on plants that I'm really afraid to kill. And I might just take it out because I don't need it. So let them dry out and they're good. So that's it. They were root bound when I got them, and you can see some roots coming out on that one there. Just one root actually. Right. Oh, cover my face. Oh, wrong way. There, cover my face. You can see the root coming out there. And look, they're super easy to grow. I recommend them to anyone who wants something with a little bit of burst of color and super easy, but also very kind of like pleasant to look at and not very like in the way, because they just kind of sit there. And I don't have to fuss over them, but they are one of my favorite plants I think I've ever owned. And I will always own one. Because, I mean, like, it's just such a unique... I'm going to put this down. It's just such a unique plant because you get these, like, lovely bracts at the end that, they just grab your attention. And they even, if you look closely, they sometimes have, like, they have a bit where you could almost see, like, eyes on the shrimp. Oh, let me see if I can get it for you. There? Can you see it? Oh, cover your face, Rob. Let's see if I can get it. No, doesn't want to focus. There. There, can you see the eyes? Black bits there? Yeah, kind of, there. So, these are wonderful plants. I think anyone should buy them if you can. Not expensive too. Not expensive. I think Lowe's was also selling like a tree version, so they grew it up a pole and then trimmed it as it went, and then it grows bracts at the top. And it was really bushy, and it was $50, I think. And I wanted one to put in the living room, but I didn't like any of the bracts, which in hindsight didn't matter because they dropped the bracts like every couple days and then they just grow new ones. So I could have just gotten it. I should have just gotten it. But, we have these cute ones. So just be aware that if your cat likes plants, it will try and eat these. So Archie does go for these quite a lot. I love him, but he's very annoying. My cat is very annoying. We have two. Lionel's very cute and Archie's very annoying. I love them both, but Archie knows he's annoying. Anyway, so that is Justicia Brandegeeana. So I rave on about this plant non-stop. I think it's featured in almost every video I've done on this channel. So it should be no surprise that it's on this list of best growers. It is my Philodendron Melanochrysum. We're not going to talk too much about it because anyone who's seen my videos knows. And if you're new here, go back and watch the old ones. But this plant takes no effort at all. I know some people find them difficult, and I know some people can't get them to produce nice long growth. I did have that problem up through here, but then I started fertilizing a bit more and I got the long leaves. So fertilize your Melanochrysum. I got this as 2 plants in one pot, put it in a pond, and ever since has just taken off. Like, I don't even have to try with this thing. I've moved it out of the windowsill because it's way too big for the windowsill now. And I've also bought which is coming in the mail, a windowsill shelf that I'm going to hang on the windowsill for all my Hoya, because guess who started collecting Hoya? Yeah. But anyway, this is such a, like, it's like the plant that keeps giving, this plant, because it'll put out a new growth, but it'll already have a new leaf starting to come out. So I don't know, maybe it's my conditions, maybe it's the fertilizer I'm giving it, maybe it's, it could also be the mycorrhizal fungi that I give it, fungi. I don't know. It just doesn't quit. It's got leaves for days, and like, so for example, I did break off a new growth. It's fine, it happens. It's upsetting, but it happens. And it was already putting out this new leaf though. Like, it already had like the cataphyll for it. Same with this leaf. So this leaf came out, and immediately it already had the cataphyll for this leaf. And this leaf, before it's even hardened off, had a cataphyll for the next leaf, if you look there. So that is pretty I can't get it out there. That is pretty epic, right? Like, I'm hoping I eventually get this to be really big. It looks like it's starting to size up. It's starting to get, it's like half the size of my face, is it? Yeah? I think so. Yeah. She's gorgeous. I love her. Again, a plant that I will always have in my collection. And this is actually a really good plant to segue into because it looks very much like my other favorite plant, which is the Philodendron Micans. It's actually Philodendron Hederaceum var Micans, but you get my drift. Micans for short. This is such a good grower. This is so easy to grow. Everyone should own one. If you have a pothos and you don't want another, like, if you want something that's a little bit more distinct than like a pothos or a heart-shaped philodendron, the green glossy one, or anything that trails with just a little bit more character, go for the Micans. It is so good to grow. It takes a little bit more care than a pothos, because pothos are basically weeds, which is why they're not included in this list, by the way. I don't know what to say about this plant. It's just gorgeous. It's interesting. It's harder to find here in Canada than it is in Australia. In Australia, in Sydney, where I was living, it was in every single garden centre I went to. You'd go to a garden centre and it'd just be there, like sitting there. Small pots, big pots, hanging pots, climbing, trailing, whatever you want. This is a great plant because it can climb and it can trail, and it looks beautiful either way. Not like, say, the Melanochrysum, that if you don't put it up a pole, the leaves don't upgrade. This one, it doesn't matter if it doesn't upgrade because it still looks bloody gorgeous. And you can give it less light than a Melanochrysum, and it won't give off like runners, or it won't, what's that word when it's reaching for light? Leggy. It won't get leggy. Yeah, so this one's cool because they are plants that want to climb. So the leaves the growth will first go up, and then as they get heavy, they droop down, which is so nice. So nice. These, I find it interesting. So, someone I follow on YouTube said that hers doesn't like to dry out at all. Like, she has to keep it moist. Mine, in my experience, Micans can dry out. Like, I had one at work, because I was the plant guy at work. We had a lot of plants there as well. And when it was up on a shelf that I couldn't get to very often, I'd have to like get a chair, climb up, water all the plants there. So I always put plants that could dry out there. And this was one of the plants that I'd just be like, water you tomorrow. Water you next week. And it was fine. Like, so I don't know whether it's like conditions or whatever, but guys, there's some great root growth. I don't know what it is, but like, I think I like root growth more than I like leaf growth. But I'm gonna show you this. I did not expect this. Like, whoa. Look at these roots. She's gonna be a nightmare to repot. Jeez, if I ever need to. So that is the work of that great white mycorrhizal fungi, by the way, guys. Oh, look at that. And you can actually see some of that powder that I put in there. Oh, God. That's amazing. I probably do like looking at root growth more than I like looking at new leaves. I'm always constantly taking plants out of their like cash pose and looking. It's really bad because I do it to like plants that are not in clear pots as well. So I'll take it out of the pot. No good. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't be me. Because I can't help myself. But yeah, look at all that root growth over here. Oh, and it's insane because this plant came in an 8-inch pot and I wanted to repot it and I pulled it out and the roots were like, it was like 5 or 6 plants in one pot and it had roots way too big for the 8-inch pot. So I actually I put 3 of the like little plants into another pot for my friend that lives in London, and I need to find a way to give it to him. And that's also taken off. I put that in a more moisture retaining mix because he works in Toronto, lives in London. So I put it in something that retains more moisture so he doesn't have to water it as much. And this one I tend to water every 14 days, 7 to 10 days. And the other one is maybe every 14 to 20 days, depending on how hot it is, depending on the mix, basically. And yeah, this is, come on guys. So everyone needs to own this. It's on my arm. This plant is on my arm, guys. Oh, there we go. So that's how much I love it. This plant. So I use the moisture meter on it again, and I let it drop to 3. That's the best. You don't want it to wilt too much because, you don't want your plants to undergo too much stress anyway. So if I can help it, I don't let it dry out, but it can dry out if it needs to. If you have other priorities and you can't get to it, this can dry out. It will bounce back. Just don't do it too much because they're not going to like it. They're tropical plants. They're used to rainforests. Yeah. So that is the Philodendron Hederaceum var. Micans. So this is an interesting one. This is Cissus Discolor. I thought it was Cissus. I looked it up. It's Cissus. Weird. And it's interesting because a lot of people have said this is difficult. I found this super easy. So I don't know. It might just be my conditions. It might just be my plant care style. It might be my set it and forget it my mentality. And it might also be the susty that I put in there. So there's a couple tips that I have for this plant, okay? Because I have grown a beautiful one. Now, I did struggle with this plant not growing it. It did get spider mites. So because it's velvety, I would, keep it in a high humid environment because this is prone to spider mites. And that's why I started getting predatory mites. So you can see the sachets. Over here, I put 2 on it because it's such a big plant. And down here somewhere. Anyway, down there. I might put another one. Pro tip, if you see a small white thing crawling really quick, that's a predatory mite. And if you see something crawling very slow, that's a spider mite. I don't know what the culprit was. I suspect it was my Monstera esqueleto because the new leaf unfurled and it had damage on it that looked like spider mite damage. And then it went on to my Regal Shield, and then it made its way there. So I had to, this is why I love this plant. It was so resilient through the whole treatment for the spider mites. I hung it up in the bathroom. I showered the leaves down. I sprayed it with insecticidal soap every day for a whole week. And I left it there for a week and I kept doing it over and over again until I knew there was no spider mites. And I put the predatory mites on there and it survived. We did lose a lot of growth though. So a lot of this growth is mine. I bought it about this size and I got it back to this size, which is lovely. So as you can see, there are some leaves that were old and did struggle through the treatment for the spider mite. So you can see the insecticidal soap. They don't like it. Plants like this and Calatheas, they will not respond well to insecticidal soap. So be aware of that. And they also don't respond well to neem oil. Be aware of that if you're using it sparingly. Use it sparingly, or just be aware that you're going to lose growth. It's going to be heavy, thick, and it's going to burn the leaves, and it's going to brown. Just be aware. Anyway, this one shouldn't dry out completely, which is why I use the susty, because susty it bases when it needs water based on when the roots are ready for nutrient uptake and water uptake. So that's why it's useful. If anyone is struggling with a plant, use a susty, and I guarantee you will fly with it. It's one plant that now I don't advocate for misting your plants because you can get bacterial growth and all that. But before I managed to get my humidity levels at a very stable rate, I found that if I didn't mist it, the leaves would suffer. So this is one plant you do want to mist maybe 2 to 3 times a day, because it does like that moisture on the leaves. And because the leaves are very delicate, they do need it. It is such a beautiful plant, and it just keeps putting out new growth. Every time I come in, it's got new growth through there. Like, these are the new vines. Oh, and they tangle up, because they are vining plants. They are part of the grape family. So they do climb, and they can trellis and all that. So if you want to make it bigger, you can trellis it. I just like it trailing because I think it's gorgeous. This is a plant that every time I come into my plant room, there's new growth on it. Whether it be on the old growth points or whether it be on new ones. Sometimes I will trim it. I might just trim that bit, because when you trim it, it splits off into new growth. So it promotes new growth. But look at this. I mean, a lot of this is my growth. I'm very proud of this. Very, very proud of this, because I did lose quite a lot of growth showering it down and spraying it down. Yeah, the spider mite thing was so scary. Almost, I was so scared that everything had it, but now I've got pretty termites and I'm really happy. I don't know what else to say about this plant except that everyone says it's difficult and I find it super easy. I put it up there and it's probably in the perfect position for it though as well. So this cannot touch sunlight, by the way. No sunlight whatsoever. Do not do it. It will burn. It will burn and you will be very upset. So I recommend this to anyone who's, I don't know. This is a plant that will always be in my collection, and I don't know who I would recommend it to, because a lot of people online have spoken about how this is difficult. And I don't find it difficult, which is interesting. But I also don't struggle with things like calatheas and all that. So it might just be that I'm very good with plants that need that kind of attention. I also have a really good soil mix for it. So it's a very nice moisture retaining soil mix that's also airy. One thing that this plant did to me is it brought in fungus gnats. I found out that this is the culprit for the fungus gnats. So it's not the plant itself, it's like the soil. And so I did so that's why I ended up getting carnivorous plants, which we'll talk about next time. But anyway, that is, how do I get this in the shot? Look at that. Oh, just, come on. That is Cissus Discolor. Alright, so those were my best growers. If you liked my video and found it entertaining, please like and subscribe. I will have more content coming, and I'll see you next time. Bye.